Welcome everybody to our July Zac Chat. Welcome back, Zac. We're delighted as always that you're here with us to give your insights and your guidance, especially at times like this where there's so much turbulence, as you discussed with us on the deep dive for this month of July and extending into August. We'd love to know more, and we've got some great questions lined up, but I thought perhaps we could explore a little bit more about your topic, your theme of rising up above this turbulent energy.
So whether you're listening to this in the time that it is meant, or whether you're listening to this in the future, it is the same energy, and it is the energy that propels you into the future. It is the energy of change, but we also need to harness the energy of optimism. And to attain optimism, especially in turbulent times, it becomes far easier to rise above to attain that optimism than to try and keep it to yourself when you are dug down in a hole. You understand?
Yes.
Therefore, all that we have already done, my dear, regarding support, particularly for this month of great change, but also great challenge, is to allow and to help with the encoding, with the energy in the meditation to rise, and to help with emotional, mental, spiritual, physical difficulties that may be a product of your time and of your past, but also in deep dive. Did we not dive deep this time, dear friend Hazel?
We did indeed.
That is a force to be reckoned with in its own right. If you have not listened, listen to that.
Yeah.
But certainly I would say what we are doing now that we are further in, now that we can see the challenges manifesting, now we can see the changes, whether it is local to you, whether it is global to you, that is happening. We do appreciate how tricky it can be in everyday life to remember the guidance, remember the practicalities, to take the hand that is reached out to you, that is given, that says, just come along and do this, just help in this way. This is not to mold you into any difference of personality or spirit or soul than you are. It is simply to alleviate so much of discomfort, to alleviate. But now that we are further into the month, we can also use this word rise, not just about rising up, but to rise within self, to rise in your frequency and vibration to match what the earth, what the universe, what your day-to-day life is calling upon you. It is calling from the bottom of its heart for you to rise up and to meet the challenges of today, tomorrow, not only with love and with courage, but also with future foresight, with kindness and grace, with the desire for what you truly, as the old expression goes, of what you want to see in the world. Even in the turmoil, it is tricky, we know, but it is possible to rise up within and say, I choose not to have the difficult thoughts, the difficult ways to be buried under what I see around me, but to see that actually we are breaking ground. It is like a construction site. They come along and something may look beautiful that is there. However, when you break ground, you start the foundations of growing something even better. Maybe it was a disaster zone, they've gone in and you're saying, yes, break ground. But maybe it isn't. And whatever it is that's around you, as you break ground and you start, as you mean to go on, to pour in your love and your desire for your future, for the generations that come after you, for the well-being, whoever it may be, and for the planet and for the animals and so forth. If you can do this in a way where you even say to yourself, catch yourself, when you're feeling very down, very depressed, be kind to yourself, do the things we've said that is helpful for you here, but also say to yourself, I have the power in me to rise to the challenge, to rise to the occasion, to rise to be me. I sound like I am on a tour, do I not? A rallying of the troops.
Yes, Zac, there's so much change going on, and just recently we're aware of a lot of things happening within governments and within organizations around the world. So this seems a very timely topic, and it reminds me of having a perspective related to the nature of duality on the planet, that goes along with everything you've just said, and gives us that choice in every moment to look at it from the sort of the perspective of the future that we're building for ourselves.
In the past, people were very distant. So you could have a person living their life, and those that were quite prominent in organizations that come into their life, perhaps organizations that are to do with their health, organizations that create the supermarkets, the big mass areas of buying food and products and so forth, in the governments and so forth, was so far away. It was as if they were watching them through lens upon lens upon lens, so that they were so far away that they were just almost a cartoon figure in the distance, so far that it felt like their lives did not affect your own, and vice versa.
Yeah.
However, everything has come very, very much more into focus. Everything is much more in your living room window. And not only because of this, but this is a helpful part of the process of bringing into light the paradigms that we do and we do not want to live in anymore. And therefore, what we are seeing as well at the time, most of you, I'm sure, who are listening to this, have been feeling a collapse around you, at least in the breaking ground that are talking about, the dismantling of the old, let us put it this way, rather than a complete falling down, for the new to appear. And this is just another way it is manifesting in the world. The time has come, certainly, for people in their homes to demand to have a life around them of that which comes into their home to be more aligned into how they wish things to be. And one of the main words I would use, my different header, is the word integrity. Integrity is ageless. Now, this is not about anything specific, because we do not get into the detail, do we, my dear? Otherwise, this chitty chat would be 3 days long. But what I can tell you is integrity was here before humanity. Sounds a bit strange, I know.
Wow.
Universe is based on integrity. Otherwise, you would have like your superheroes. You know, you would have planets being popped out of existence because of gods and goddesses and all sorts of things. But that actually doesn't happen. You know, yes, we have, of course, the nature and the universal laws. However, everything is bound together, and you could call it by integrity. Therefore, in the day and age that you are living in now, when you get to fall down as well of integrity for the principles of the future, so not integrity by what you or they or whoever think, but the integrity of actually the earth and the goodness of the earth and the more harmonic and holistic living of everything together, something has to fall down.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the integrity is saying, if you cannot go forward with integrity that actually supports the way of life for the planet, then it must go. Understand? Yes? This is why we're this, we are beyond a tipping point. You'll be very pleased to hear. We are in the process of manifestation now. We are in the process of the manifestation. So even if what you see, and of course, it is like an interior designer. I got that from my head. Interior designer is looking and says, oh, I think this wallpaper may work, or these curtains may work, or this settee may work. And then they put in and they say, no, I have a little change around, a little change around. So you may see things that change. It is not necessarily one goes and then suddenly, wham, bam, this is the pinnacle and this happens. It is a process to get there, but it is an upward process. You understand? Every change, knowing what you don't want is almost as useful as knowing what you do want, is it not?
Always.
And so there we are now in the manifestation process of the universe having its integrity for life to live on earth in a harmonious way, because I've always said that is the direction. That is the clear goal, should we say. Understand, yes?
I do. And I'd love to hear how we can apply that to some of the squeezes that we're feeling at the moment with regards to raising costs of fuel and food and our electric and gas and things like that. Families are noticing great increases in costs and feeling very squeezed by it. So if you could help us to understand more about that, which, it's great news to hear that we've passed the tipping point. So we're obviously, still being buffered by some of the things that need to be resolved, and we need to get into that manifestation mode so that we can again rise above what is playing out and thrive.
Absolutely. So when I was talking about the person in their house with these people, these organizations, governments, whatever, that felt so far away, while they could live and thrive, if that is what they are wanting, in a very separate way, not necessarily in a collaborative way, but they themselves say, well, whatever is going on around, I do this, and I can thrive. And I may not be able to help a lot of people, but I can help myself and my family. Nothing wrong with that. But that is how it has been for a lot of years. But to come into situations where I can no longer thrive. I can no longer, with good heart, choose to go forwards and develop, because that is what all humans want to do. They may not use the word. And development for some people may be to get a better standard of living. Development for other people may be to eat in a better way. You understand these types of concepts. Now, of course, difficult as it may be, manifestation of things that, and I've said this before, that come into the home and say, really, it is becoming more and more difficult. This is what brings the lens into focus. This is where it says, I am not willing to listen to these people anymore. They always said they look after me. This isn't really happening, blah, 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 and making it very simplified here. But It is about people to rise. We are back to that word, rise. You have to have something to rise against. You understand?
Yes.
It is like the seedlings. You are doing this with your vegetables, and you're not.
Yes.
You put pressure on some of them to actually help them grow. You understand?
I do. Yeah.
This does not make the situation comfortable in any shape or form. However, in order for changes to be made, the squeeze, this is a very good way of putting it, squeeze, 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 squeeze. But even in the squeeze, you can dig deep. I'm not saying it's going to be comfortable, and some people will be digging deeper than others for the change to happen. Now you can imagine if a lot of things are changing and people in their hearts and also in their actions are manifesting what is going to come. If life is very, let us say, challenging, right now, your word, Hazel, challenging, then those people are not going to manifest the same thing again, are they?
Right.
They are going to be determined that what they manifest will not only right all of these difficulties, but move from a place of squeezing into a place of expansion. You understand? Yes.
Yes.
Now,
yes. Could you mention the power of intention, or maybe you already were going to.
Yes. You anticipated me. So this is with actions, but it does not mean to say running around and forcing action. Remember, we are in a time of power, not force.
Yes.
Force or paradigm, power, new paradigm. You can use your innate inner power that sits, your seat of your power, through your intention and desires, not only for what is happening for you, for those you care about around you, and then greater and greater through community, through country, through global. And it does not have to be, this way, circles further out. You can go straight from your heart with the power to desire, with your intent for arising up into this integrity for all globally. Could you imagine what would happen if, say, for example, a few days, even every single person, man, woman, and child, sat completely with the desire that every action that they did at that point was in integrity for harmony going future? Can you imagine? Now, that would not solve everything, but it would start the ball rolling. People would see and be activating changes. So many people are already doing it. So much that often people are not aware of the power of intention and the beautiful creations. It is only with power and intention that the new comes to light. After all, does not every creator, every artist, every inventor, every mother, father in creation desire and intend for something better than they experience for themselves? And therefore, aligned with this time of change and rise, this is why I say, now that we are fully in it, this integrity, and maybe using the terminology in a way that is different from how you normally think of integrity, and without judgment. So it is not this person has integrity, that person doesn't. That is not how we are talking of it here. We are talking about the integrity of the universe to desire that the changes that come will be good for all. And it is possible. Even in your noodles, and you're thinking, but I don't understand. If I'm thinking of fuel prices, if I'm thinking of the cost of living, if I'm thinking of the foods that I eat, I would say at this time, if you are feeling all muddled by it all, it is not for you to solve. There will be other people that can solve that. But what you can do to help is go into that power center within you. Attain your force of power, not force of action, and rise it up within you. And just with every intent of your being, catch yourself when you feel very negative about things. Catch yourself and say, this is possible. The universe is always creating the solutions. The people are out there that are creating the solutions. And this can all be for the betterment for all. And it is possible. Understand? Yes.
I
is
do.
This what you are thinking of, my dear, with intention?
Completely. And I know that you also are in favor of us all having an optimistic disposition as we're going through, even when we're buffeted by, this and that from all directions, that the power of optimism is also very helpful.
And you know what? Nothing happens. Look at nature. Nothing happens without optimism. When you see the bears at the bank waiting for the salmon run, they do not know they are definitely going to get nice fishy fish to eat, but they are optimistic. It sounds a bit strange, but if you think of this way, nature is very optimistic. It expects something good will come out of something that has just decomposed. It doesn't question it, it just does. And it is the same. Without optimism, not a lot happens. There will always be somebody that tells you a story of, I was down on my luck and out of the blue something happened and I never expected it. But that doesn't happen so often. This is why I remember the stories, because they don't happen very often. That is when that person is getting an awful lot of help. What actually happens in everyday life is we need to have optimism to engage in the manifestation for it to happen. It is like a linking of the chains. You understand? To,
Yes.
hook into that new way of being, you need to be optimistic.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the whole time. If you think, oh no, I'm listening to you now, Zac, and the last few days I've been very, very down and very much not optimistic. You can change it at any moment. Just saying to yourself and to thinking of the hope and desire for the future, even if you don't know how it is going to come to light, engages the optimism, and you are plugged in to then the desires of humanity. We've said before that this is something that is miraculous upon your planet. Your emotions are the change makers. What you put out into the energetic field is the change makers. Even more so, funnily enough, by then your actions, because that has to be the start point. That is what everybody feels. If everybody on the planet was suddenly optimistic, it would lift the vibration no end. Understand, yes?
I do. And Zac, I'd like to help people who are concerned about others suffering. We've had a question, and the questioner knows that you've covered this before, but just any additional points that can help us when we're seeing some of the things where people are suffering, or there are some, pretty tricky things going on in the world.
Humans are great multitaskers. Aha! Don't listen to people that say, oh no, humans can't multitask. They can multitask very well. So once you do all these things that we have spoken of so far, getting into your power center, setting your intent, engaging optimism, putting a real focus, a vision, wandering the lanes of wonder on exactly how the beautiful expansion of the future can come out of the squeezing, you are multitaskers, and you can also alleviate other people's suffering, because there's no getting away from it. Throughout all of this, if a house falls down and it falls down on top of you, it hurts. You understand?
Yes.
Making it very simple there. But the collapse of much of what you know, and maybe even hold dear, that is happening perhaps in your life or further reaches from your life. Maybe it is affecting other people that you know, or even people that you don't know. The changes that you are seeing, you can help in this way, but you can also, if you, again, have the desire to help in other ways, then do. It is kindness that is the best antidote to suffering.
Yeah.
It is not so much about what money you can give. It is not so much about what skills, even though if you think you have particular skills, of course, use them. It is kindness. You may not be able to help someone on the other side of the world that may not be right for you. And when I say right, as in you could waste an awful lot of time trying to get to these people, whoever it may be, whereas actually there's a lot of suffering in your community. Or there's a lot of suffering in a particular group of people that you are connected with. So share your energy where you can with kindness. Sometimes the kindness could be to listen, to be with a person. Sometimes the kindness is a hot meal. Sometimes the kindness is volunteering your energy to something. If you have different skills, maybe you can be a voice for someone who does not know how to have a voice, to be the confidence for someone who does not know how to speak out. You understand? Or maybe you do have connections that will help, or easily available connections to something that is really deep in your heart from the other side of the world. And I'm talking of people, but of course this could be ecologically, this could be with different species, it could be anything. The fact is that you are engaging your desire, and know that you can multitask. Know that you can, because humanity, as you know, I'm big fan of humanity. They get so much more from helping somebody than receiving. It is still quite strange for us, with all your emotional intelligence now, that this has not balanced out. We expect it to in the future. But right now, it doesn't matter what a person is like. You could look and in judgment say, oh, that isn't not really that person, but it is in the deep of their seat of their soul. So therefore, in engaging in something that can actively be done to help another, whatever it may be, in suffering, you are actually helping yourself as well, because this will also engage your connection to your rising up, to your optimism, to the future that is so very bright if you desire it to be. Remember all the light frequency, remember all the universe that is helping you. It is no surprise in this particular month, you have this gigantic, what do you call it, a supermoon these days. The supermoon, again, that is based around moving up through suppressed emotion. So therefore, the universe is also coming together, the stars, shall we say, the planets, all of these things are coming together to give you influence in the way that you are desiring to progress. Does this make sense, my dear?
Oh, it makes sense on so many levels. And it's a good reminder that we've all got a really important role to play, whether it's from our own homes or whether we're out there in the world doing various things. Everyone is playing their part. And that's really a lovely reminder for people. Thank you, Zac.
May I say that one more thing, because it may, I may not have made this clear. Remember, I said kindness is the antidote to suffering. One of the reasons for this is kindness does not contain judgment. Now you may think, what's that got to do with anything? When someone suffers, it's very hard to receive from another who is doing it just to feel good for themselves, but has great judgment, you know? Yeah. Therefore, what kindness does is raise above that as well. And then you're meeting the other person heart level, even keel, not in an inferior way. Remember, I do not like those words anyway, inferior and superior, but in a way that is saying from one person to another, I am here. What can I do to alleviate your suffering? By engaging kindness, this can be done. Do continue, my dear.
Oh gosh, where to start? Well, one of the things is, Zac, that we spoke in the last Zac Chat about reincarnation and life after we move out of our physical bodies. And we had a question to ask you if you could expand as to whether or not you are able to relate with people who have passed over and you spend time with, loved ones. And is that something that maybe we'll be able to do in the future?
Is this a question in relation to my own or to other people's? Is this related to whether I am, shall we say, on duty for those who are in transitioning?
Well, I think a bit of everything, Zac, but I think it was whether or not you are there and you could relate with our loved ones.
Now you know. Sometimes I am there. Will be no surprise. Good energetic friends I'm often around. However, this is really the domain of the angelic kingdom. Now I don't often go into detail such as this. However, the angelic kingdom has evolved in such a way that it can transition people as comfortably as possible. It can have a hand, shall we say, in the physical world, very subtly, and allow the change through. If somebody comes out of their body, unless they already know my energy, I'm going to say my in this way for myself, it could be a bit of a shock to them. It could be quite strong. Janet herself came across my energy in you understand this, Hazel, life between life regression, long time ago. And it pained her greatly. It is a bit like, like a tuning fork that is tuned so high that it causes pain in your head when you can hear it. You understand?
I do.
So during transition, the angelic forces very much help, and they will actually accommodate acclimatization of frequency so that it is comfortable. They will accommodate a shift in frequency of their loved ones so that they can meet in a very comfortable level, not having to get used to it first. This is one of the reasons why people often feel that they meet people in a contained space. in a room, in a beautiful place, in a garden, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It is not only for comfort, but it is comfort to the vibration.
Yes.
Now, of course, when someone is acclimatized fully and they really find their spiritual zip dibbity doodah fit, like a firework, they can soar, they can shift, they can do their energy, all the connections come back to them, even just a thought. So if they're thinking, oh, I remember my old friend Zachariah, I wouldn't have to go to them, they're suddenly with me.
Yeah.
Understand? Yes.
Yes. What's that like for you, Zac?
Oh, wonderful. Can you imagine what it's like if every day at your door is one of your oldest friends who you adore, and they suddenly see you at the same level again rather than from afar? Every day is like the best birthday. Understand? Yes.
I think it's great to touch on this, because for those that are leaving the planet at the moment and those of us that are staying behind, observing that, it's great for us to be reminded that their energy continues, their soul is continuing back home. We know this, Janet and I, because this has been what we've immersed ourselves in for several decades. For many people, that's quite new, a new consideration. But it's so helpful, and there are huge numbers of people around the world who believe and have believed through their cultures in reincarnation, and I hope that this is something that will bring great solace to many.
It will not be too long before it will be received as information that is fact, just so you know.
Yes, good.
There are scientific discoveries that are happening that in laboratory conditions will actually verify this now. So it does not have to be belief anymore. But everything that I'm saying, I do not want anyone to feel there is a disregard to the pain and suffering that comes before. And for all of those who miss naturally the physical presence of their loved ones. We should not be shooting off, saying, oh, goodbye, good visions, planet Earth, because it is such a special energy to be here. However, for those that do, simply to say, the life that comes after is far better than the one that went before. Okay?
Yeah. So, brilliant, Zac. I'd love to ask you a question that's come through about DNA. So Rudolf Steiner wrote about viruses being excreted from our DNA rather than being caught as we evolve as a species. And as there's quite a big focus on DNA and changes to it on the planet at the moment, I wonder if you could expand upon the nature of viruses for us.
Timely as in not. So you understand, it is actually both. The reason why I say this, ancestrally speaking, from a long, long time ago, the virus is lay dormant within the body. And they may not ever even be triggered. Depends on the environment, depends on toxicity. Toxicity is one of the major things that activates a virus running rampant in the body. Okay. Now, so this has gone on for generation after generation after generation after generation. The toxicity levels of the earth had not got to a stage until around the time of Industrial Revolution starting it, for there to be many variants of virus that did not really correspond with what was in an energetic format within the body. However, as everything changes and nature evolves and blah, 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 and all of these things, and the environment changes things as well. The environment, not just to do with toxicity, but how it adapts to that toxicity, means that other things develop. Now, we will not get into too much conversation here, because this is not so relevant for this part regarding the hand that people have to then also activating for the viruses. But simply to say some are within and some come from the outside. Now, when a new one comes in from the outside, of course, the body needs to adapt to accommodate and to find a place, you could say, for it within everything else. It needs to learn about it. It is a bit like a teacher with a classroom of students, all a bit hurly-burly, all with their own minds, and just knows how everyone sits. And then a new student comes in who bowls through and brings out different attributes of people's personalities. Suddenly they're sitting next to someone in the class who is normally meek and mild, but due to their own presence, brings out another side of them. And so you see, when a new virus comes in, it is not just that virus, but it is how it is interacting and affecting the other viruses that are in the body. And then, of course, the immunity system is a bit like the teacher. It has to work out how to take charge, how to not just tell a thing to go away, but how to manage it. You understand? Now, something that is very useful, because you say, well, why has the body developed and not got rid of them? Is they are change makers. Remember, I have said so many times, allow change to change you.
Yeah.
This is because a fact of life on the earth, whether you're human, whether you're a polar bear, whether you are fly, whether you are beetle, blah, 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 whether you're a fish, dolphin, whatever, you are constantly changing at the cellular level. You do not get born and change the same. You grow, you develop, your cells replenish itself, all of these things. It has to change. And because the environment is constantly changing, nature has to up its game. It has to have more and more ways to be able to implement a change within the body. One of the ways of doing this is with viruses, because they are like the bowling ball that goes flying through, that takes out things. It can be very dramatic. However, it can spark changes that then learn from the inside about new environmental situations. And then what the immunity can do can then create what it is needed. Remember, I told you many times regarding the evolution. We are here with the light, with the movement through the evolution into a light being within your physical form. One of these ways of doing this is with viruses. This is why I said it's very difficult to pinpoint something and say, oh, that is a bad thing or a good thing, because everything has both, does it not? Depends how it reacts with you. It is not the case that you are fully in charge, I'm afraid. I would love to be able to tell you, but if you know this, you can do this, because they're very strong. And it is dependent, of course, on how body reacts and all of these things. But the fact remains, these are big change makers in evolution. Understand, yes? Does this make sense, my dear? I do not want to cast them in a light as the great savior, because they cause so much difficulty. I simply want to tell you that they are part of life on earth. They are within everything that is living. It is part of the design, that it is one of the ways, and remember, this is only one of the ways for change to happen, to adapt to a new environment, or get ready for an environment that is coming. Understand, yes?
Yes, I do. And I think this is very useful, especially for people who have been poorly recently, to know that that is actually useful to the body. People who study homeopathy are very aware that illness actually is part of building the immune system. So I think the way you've explained that should help people understand that they are the change makers, as you say. And I think somebody said to me once that Darwin's expression of survival of the fittest wasn't quite right. It was more a survival of those that are able to adapt and change. That would be the way forward. So that's really what we're being nudged to do, isn't it? To adapt and change
and be collaborative.
Yes. Yeah.
Collaborative is just how the body works once it was in a collaborative way. It is very true. The way the world is now, it is not always easy to define what is actually good for you, bad for you. There is not a set line. Often what you feel is bad for you is good for you. What you feel is good for you is bad for you, blah, 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 blah. All mind-boggling, is it not?
Yes, yeah.
However, when we can see it, we don't just invite it. We don't just say, okay, you change, and we take a back seat, because then it will become a dominant force. So we need to be mindful. We need to manage. However, why do you think that the medical world has never found what they would call a cure for viruses? They have, or they think they have, to reduce bacteria, parasites, blah, 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 all of these things, or at least to a level that then the body can help itself. And it, remember the universe in its integrity for change. The universe, note this is one of the original designs of all of the planet. Therefore, how could something come up that will, for want of a better word, cure a virus? But what it can do is understand it. What it can do is listen to its emergence and work to overcome. Nothing wrong with overcoming. Nothing wrong to being, as I say, the immunity, the teacher in the class, to work out quite quickly how to settle that virus in so that it fits into the pattern that has already been created in the classroom, so that everybody is happy, everybody is in harmony, everybody works to their strengths. Understand, yes?
I do. And I'm wondering if something has been created by human beings that is working like a virus, does the body also make these changes?
It can do, but it takes longer.
Okay.
Because, like you say, if we go back to the analogy of the teacher, she understands the children. So even if there's a child that comes in that is being disruptive, making others work, still understands that that is a child. If you had something that was coming and say it was like a robot, and acting, it wouldn't be acting like a child was. It would have to learn how it acts before it can even start to think how it can symbiotically, that is hard to pronounce, symbiotically work with the others in a formation that is going to be positive for the class. Understand, yes?
Oh, that's a great analogy. Thank you, Zac. That's really helpful.
I do not want to use terms of something that is bad or wrong or whatever else, because nothing is. It is just simply that things take longer. And the more that we mess around with things when we're on the planet, the longer it takes to sort out, does it not?
Well, I think what this is doing is, as we are facing many of these things here on Earth at this time, we are becoming more and more aware of our supernature and our ability to transcend much of what we experience at a physical level, a cellular level, and that those things are acting as catalysts for our evolution.
I agree, my dear.
Good stuff, isn't it? So is there anything else you'd like to say to round up today? I know I've got more questions that I'd love to ask you, but I think from a time point of view, we need to just sort of save those, because I think we need some deeper answers. So is there anything that you feel is important to say related to this month of July going into the middle of August?
There is a lot of information, not just from Zachariah, but from all over the place. Information is one thing, what your heart feels is another. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel in jeopardy, if you feel, oh goodness, everything's going well for me, but something's going to come and get me because Zachariah said that July is going to be tricky, I simply say, use the advice that we are having regarding rising. Rise within, rise above. Think of yourself first, not in a selfish way. However, if you can get a hold, if you master self, you can radiate light, radiate your energy, and be in your power to decide the next course of action. Is it something that I need to do today, or can I help someone else? Is it something that I need, or is it something that somebody else needs? We can look at these things. We can engage our power. All I would say in terms of what I ask. I don't often ask because I don't believe in that it should be your choice. I simply ask that you take some quiet time, even if it's just 10 minutes every day, not thinking about what is happening in the day or what you've heard or anything else. Go within. Go into the power center. Go within to the rise. Notice how you feel. Notice what you do. If you are in possession or the rise meditation, we have many, many others as well, of course, but particularly if you need and help and you do not wish to do it yourself, allow its energy to help you. We are coming with more and more and more support as you are rising, rising, rising to meet us. And so, as I say, reach out for that hand that is there for you. If you don't, that is your choice. No one is going to say that this is a bad thing. It is just something that is there. Why not take it? Understand is my dears.
Yes, it's a beautiful meditation, and I know that you have put lots of coding in to really support our systems at this time where many people are finding there's a lot of emotional disruption within themselves and within people that they're living in, which we go into in much more detail in the deep dive. The meditation is...
Carry on.
I was just going to say the meditation is highly supportive, and I really would love to thank you. And I know many, many people have really benefited so far from listening during these turbulent times, especially. Zac, you always do know what we need, and it's incredible to have you assisting us at this time through these more tricky moments. And reminding us of the incredible destination ahead of us, and also our own incredible nature, our supernature. I think we're beginning to find out more about that in our daily activities. But as you said, we're going to find that coming on more and more and more. Miracles are going to become a bit more commonplace, aren't they? Perhaps we could just leave on that note.
It certainly is. I'd just like to say great appreciation to all of your bodies, to all of your souls, to all of the emotions that you battle with and enjoy every single day. I am with you, as you know, and I feel this. I particularly feel this in this body of Janet. You know, she has struggled and struggled and struggled on the physicality, but she is really becoming light. And this is what all of you are doing. So, take your heart to the struggle and the strife when you feel it, and know that you can overcome. Just bring that power center in, and even if it does take some time, know that you are changing for yours and others' betterment. Go good.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Zac, and thank you all for listening. And if you know of somebody who might benefit from this Zac Chat, and also from the most wonderful conversation that you had, Zac, with David Farrell, plant alchemist and shaman. What a beautiful conversation that was, really doing a deep dive into our relationship with nature and the sort of quantum aspects of how we're going to be interacting more and more with plants. And you can see by Zac's face, this is such a topic that you love so dearly, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, great conversation. So, if you know people who are ready to hear from Zac, the start of the conversation with David, Janet explains a little bit more about her story and channeling. So it's quite a good introduction for people. But we're here to support as many as possible. And certainly the Zac Chats are freely available for everybody. So do think if there's somebody you could send it on to, that would be great. We'd love more people to hear from you, wouldn't we, Zac? If they're ready, we trust completely that you will come to the right people at the right time. And that's the most important thing. How can anyone resist that beautiful face?
Well, you know, it is such fun to be in physical form, just for a little while, here and there, and to enjoy what it is to be on this planet Earth. I can smell everything.
Yeah.
She's burning something. I do not know what at the moment, but you know, it is just very, very special to be human. Very, very special.
Yes, it's a good reminder for us to really enjoy this opportunity to be here in physicality at this incredible time. Thank you, Zac. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon. And thank you all for being with us. Much love from Janet and I. Bye-bye for now. Bye, Zac.